Messi. Messi. Oh my goodness. Balotelli. Aguero. Oh, that is extraordinary. What a head, son. What a head.
Back of the net.
Hello. This is the Not a Pundit podcast, but you already know because that's why you clicked play. I'm Killian. I'm delighted to be joined, as ever, by Nate and Connor. Gentlemen, how are we doing?
Can't complain.
Nobody would listen if you did.
Good win for the Toon over the weekend. So it always sets you up for a good week. And two big games or 2 big days of Champions League football this week, which is also another kind of brilliant bit of the week. What about you? How you doing?
Doing well. Busy week, but yeah, enjoying the football. So far last night was a good game. Looking forward to the second leg. But yeah, doing well.
Good stuff. Well, one of the biggest talking points, and like just before we came on, it was kind of got us going, shall we say, and it's the reason why we're going to be kicking it off with it is Bayern Munich 2, Real Madrid 2. Did you all like the little dig from Jude Bellingham as Harry Kane was going to take the penalty?
Love a bit of shithousery like that. It's there's nothing beats a bit of sledging, harmless banter. You gotta love it. I also loved Rudiger trying to predict the penalty yet again, and this time made an absolute arse of it. But you win some, you lose some.
Yeah, harmless banter like Anthony last week, but we won't get into that. Yeah, that was a good game. It was interesting. Real Madrid were a bit passive, I think. They sort of sat back and let Bayern do what they want to do. I don't know if that was to counteract Tuchel or whatever, but yeah, it was an interesting game. And this is what we sort of want now, is like a second leg where it's all on the line, you know what I mean? Like it's basically a 0-0.
Yeah.
I just can't get over Jude Bellingham. Like, I know everyone knows how good he is, but just how young he is and how mature he is just frightening. You know, like even take out his talent, just to go into a club like Real Madrid, take it by the scruff of the neck and be evidently a major leader in that team at his age is just nothing short of incredible.
And in his first season, like people forget, he's only there like what? 10 months,
like
it is insane. Like,
Yeah.
it may be a little bit hyperbolic, but I do genuinely think he is one of the world's best players. I would right now anyway say he's more influential on Real Madrid than Haaland is on City.
100%.
100%.
100%. Look, Haaland's been getting fairly reamed in the press of late, and a lot of it isn't exactly fair because he's still banging in goals. But when you look at Jude Bellingham, isn't just scoring goals; he's assisting goals. He's kind of
he's a complete midfield center package. Like,
yeah, he's like a manager on the pitch. He's like he's captain material 100%. And like you'd think he was 29. You know, has been at Madrid for 5 years. It's I bow down.
Like all the praise that Modric has been getting over the last couple of years pales in comparison to the effect that Bellingham has had in a very, very short space of time. Give him the same length of tenure as Modric. You're talking about a club legend instantly now.
Yeah, like, and I think he is a generational talent. Like, I think he's a world-class football player. Like, going back to what Connor said about Haaland's not a world-class footballer, in my opinion. He's a world-class striker, not a footballer. Jude Bellingham's everything. You know what I mean? The full package. Scores goals, can defend, great passing, has such a good list of attributes. But I do think the reason he's gone in and done so well is because he was thrown into so many environments so far in his career that sort of outpaled his age, if that makes sense. So, like, you know, playing in the first team for Birmingham City when, what was he, 16, 17, then moving to Dortmund so young. And like, I feel like he's a bit more mature than we give him credit for currently.
Well, yeah, he's had to bootstrap his way there, and you know, like you said, like you know, when you see young players like 16, 17 come into, say, the Premier League, you're kind of like there's a talent level there that they wouldn't be in that position if they weren't extraordinary. But where I think you benefit from being at somewhere like a Birmingham over being a Premier League team at that point is you're thrown into environments that are much harsher. you're playing a lot more football because they need you more, and you're not that Premier League players aren't real men, but you know what I'm saying in terms of the kind of caliber of person you're going against is a lot rougher, and it's I think to your point, Nate, you had to grow up quick.
Yeah, I think the exciting thing, just sorry, I'll go quickly, is another 4 or 5 years. He's been at Real Madrid, then 6, like approaching his 7th year. He still has another half a career to go
I
play
know,
elsewhere. Do you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
it's crazy to think about. And I think we need to see him in the Premier League at some point.
100%.
There's two things I want to put the world to rights to, and I'm gonna put them out to you and see if you agree. I think now we have to forgive Birmingham and take back all the laughs for retiring his jersey. They were just ahead of the game.
Yeah,
I think doing it when he's kind of still playing, it irks me. And when they did it at the time, I was like, football's gone. We've lost the game.
Laughable at the time, but they've been proven correct.
But I still wait till at least he's won like a Ballon d'Or or a Champions League or something, and then you can go. He's been at Madrid for a couple of years, retires jersey then, but retiring it straight off the bat when he's gone to Dortmund, and like he could have flopped. He could have absolutely flopped, and it was a big risk.
But it's paid off. It's been proven right, Nate.
well, yeah, but like we say, it's paid off. Was it paid Birmingham? Not, do you know what I mean? Bar not having an
The
extra
number to give,
Yeah,
Well, it's the reputational end of it more to the point. Like,
yeah,
don't forget the reason why they did it was to kind of give youth players like an attainable kind of like, wow, he did it, so I can do it too. And I think for a lot of youth players now, you kind of have to look at it kind of going,
Are
worked for
you
Bellingham.
he's a big fan of clubs retiring numbers. I'm not
I'm
really.
not. I think it. I think it's, say for example, if a player passes on, say either
There wasn't your man at City that
yeah,
briefly retired his number.
yeah, like that I think it was a Foe. They were Mark Vivian Foe. I think
Yeah.
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 They like that. I'm down for. Like if someone's been like a long servant of the club and something horrible happens, yeah. And the only caveat to that is I think if it's in the first 11 numbers, no, just out of sheer principle of kind of football purist senses to
Yeah.
it. But
Yeah, I'd agree there.
like outside of that, I think in Newcastle, for example, if Alan Shearer were number 26, retire that. He's club's top goal scorer, that kind of thing. But outside that, it's not for me. What about you, Nate?
See, I know at United, like we're very precious with numbers, like very,
Yeah.
like specifically number 7. Although Alexis Sanchez, even Mason Mount, right
But
now.
for a while there, it was
But
He
the
yeah,
threw
number.
away
it was a
11
holy grail.
very, very flippantly.
I like to go by the thought that a player borrows a number, doesn't own the number. You know what I mean? Like
fan of that.
I like that a number can go across multiple generations and it means something for that. You know what I mean? So I think I'm against retiring numbers.
What
I
about you? What about you, Kevin?
I agree with your point about the 1 to 11. They're
They're
But, like,
sacred, like
yeah,
you know.
but there's plenty of clubs across Europe that have like retired number 12 for the fans. Like,
Yeah, like I
there's
think
lots of
that
things.
that again though, I think you need to be careful when you do that because like there's certain fan bases out there that do deserve that. But if you're trying to make your fans feel better about themselves and doing it, I don't like it.
I think like they're only a shirt number at the end of the day. Like it's not like you're renaming a stand. And the thing
Yeah, yeah.
about them is they often happen for a couple of years and then they're gone again.
Yeah,
Like,
but the only thing is when it stretches over like multiple clubs, like so many clubs have been around for hundreds of years. It's like the amount of players that have gone through that one number, it all tells a story. You know what I mean?
Well,
And I
like
just
that, like
think,
the number 7, like if you're a kid coming up in the academy at United and you're looking at George Best has worn it, Beckham's worn it, Ronaldo's worn it. You're kind of like, holy shit, this
I
is
want
more
that.
than just a jersey,
Yeah, and they aspire to have that number. Like,
Yeah.
very overrated number, I have to say. Like, the fact that you struggled to get the 3 players for number 7 at United, I think it's kind of there's more There's more legendary status given to it than it's actually earned.
Oh,
I
no.
do think
Come on.
with 7 though, like, or at United, or certain numbers like say 10 or number 9 at Newcastle or whatever, like it's a massive pressure to take on, and I almost think it says something about a player. Like when a player comes in and goes, "I want the biggest number at your club," you go, "Oh, we got a guy here." Now he's either a cocky bastard or he can walk the walk, but we'll find out. You know, it adds a bit of spice.
Killian, a few names that have worn number 7 at Manchester United, all right?
Mhm,
Cristiano Ronaldo, Eric
mhm,
Cantona,
mhm,
George Best, David
mhm.
Beckham, Brian Robson. Like, come on.
So
In the
that's
words
what.
of Eamon Dunphy, Ronaldo's a cod.
No, but that's what 5 players in 130 odd years.
Yeah, ain't messing with the number 7. I'm backing Nate in this one. I'm not a United boy, but I'll be one for tonight.
I've just Alexis Sanchez, and then you had like Januzaj at 11 after gigs. Like you don't put a whole lot of credence into them. What
Oh,
was it? Was Di Maria at 7 as well?
no comment. I forgot Michael Owen as well, yeah. Great.
Oh, now you've turned me, lads. Now the man who's never watched a movie.
Memphis Depay.
Oh, you're bringing out the bangers here, mate.
Edison
Depay,
Cavani.
I know Depay didn't work out at United,
Good
but
player, but
he is a
not a United.
serious baller.
But the other thing I wanted to put the rights as well is not just that Birmingham should be forgiven, but two, it Ancelotti has now to be seen to be one of the best managers of the 21st century.
I think he's
The man has a
arguably
consistently ridiculously good record.
he's the best. Like I think we made the joke recently that you know you know he's good when he still has a head of hair like that. Like he's obviously chilled out enough and comfortable in his position. But like, yeah, look, I mean, you look at Pep, and it's hard to look past him in terms of what he's done to the game and where he's moved the game on, and you know how he's changed it. But I think with Ancelotti, he's a fine wine. That guy, like everywhere he's gone, he's never dipped ever.
Yeah, and I think that's one of the big things about, say, Pep. Like I put Pep closer to Bielsa than I would Ancelotti, because like I think Pep and Ancelotti were very good at moving football on, particularly at Bielsa. The fact that it was like he changed how people thought. Same with Ragnick, who we'll get on to later. Again, these are guys who were like thinkers that brought the game on, and people copied and emulated. Whereas if you look at Ancelotti, he won his first Champions League as a manager, what, in 2006?
Yeah.
Like
It's he's done it over multiple styles in different decades over different countries. Like there's no Pep would be the only one that I think really kind of comes close to the level of success, but also he was doing it with some of the greatest teams, some of the greatest
Yeah,
players, and
that's
some of the
not
greatest
overhyped,
financial
Pep.
powers.
but if you look at Ancelotti, right, and I think the biggest credit you can give a manager is if you sent me a single kind of game of any club that Ancelotti's watched, like just full 90-minute video on YouTube, I'd happily watch any of them. Like
Yeah.
like even when he was at Everton, they played pretty sexy football at times.
And
Plus, there's
also,
few managers that are so like linked with a formation. Like he hasn't played it properly in about 15 years. But
Yeah.
that 4-1-2-1-2 tight diamond, like
Which was at the time it was 4-4-2 or 4, like actually to be honest it was just 4-4-2 at that point. You know, it really was. It was Mike Bassett's finest, and that Milan team, like I know that was like pre-Barcelona, that was arguably the scariest team on earth. That AC Milan team that he had when Shevchenko was at his peak. Like I not that he doesn't get the credit he deserves. Everyone knows he's a good manager, but I think people are very quick to go Pep's number one, but he's kind of the sleeper behind. You know, he's right there.
yeah, and I think one of the big things that goes under the radar is man management as well. Like
Everyone
the
loves
amount
him. Yeah.
of players that have passed through his hands, like, is crazy. And I think even more impressive now is that Real Madrid team so young, he's still able to connect with them.
Well, that's a great point, Nate, because how many managers do we talk about are so out of the loop? Like he's encountering the same problems as any other manager in terms of, you know, social media in the game, phones in the game, all the pressures of being a young player, and like he's just happily there with his cigar, and like obviously he's got incredibly high standards, and anyone who doesn't meet them is ushered out. But what I do like about him as well is, do you ever hear scandal about him? Do you ever hear him being salty? Do you ever hear him being
I was just trying to
bitchy?
think, when's the last time Ancelotti had a player come out and whinge about him?
I've genuinely, unless it's someone who was fringe player who was just like bitter, I cannot tell you.
Only one that came to mind was James Rodriguez, and then I realized, no, that was after Ancelotti left.
Yeah.
It's like,
Like, lads, like, just looking at the stats here, he's the only manager to win 4 Champions Leagues, only manager to win all top 5 leagues, only manager to win 4 Super Cups, and he's also the only manager to win 9 UEFA club winning competitions.
Like, it's outrageous.
That's
And like what
he's
I
nowhere
also
near 70.
he can go for he'll keep going on, man. And like he also, what I think the reason that he's not top of people's mind as the go-to is he doesn't care if you think he is. He could not give a toss. You never hear, if he's the type of guy that if you said every media member in this room thinks you're the greatest coach on earth, he'd be like, that's a nice thing to say, but that's not for me to decide. Like he's just a humble dude.
To be honest, I think one of the things that kind of goes against him in that kind of a chat in and around where we are is more how short of a spell he had at Chelsea and then at Everton. I think I think it's that like Premier League bias of kind of going, well, he didn't make it here, even though did he win a Premier League? I think he did.
I don't know.
It came damn close.
Yeah, he won all top 5 leagues.
Yeah,
Jesus Christ.
The dude is absolutely unbelievable, and every time people think he's going to fizzle out, he just doesn't.
Why do you think he doesn't get brought up in these conversations? Like, he obviously gets brought up, but he's never the first name that comes out of people's mouth. Do we think it's because he's moved so many different leagues?
I think it's just because he's like I was saying, he's humble. So like he's not the Mourinho guy. I'm the special one. He's not outrageous in the media. Like he as much as a top flight manager can be, he's about as under the radar publicly as possible.
I think a big thing goes against him is that his football, the type of football his teams play, isn't standout. It's always good to watch, but it's never something that make you go, "Oh my god!"
It's not end to end stuff. Yeah,
no, but it's one of them kind of ones where the tactics he plays enables the good players to be amazing, like the likes of Bellingham. Whereas if you look at, say, a Pep, when the team does well, Pep gets the credit for the formation. So I think it's one of these kind of ones where he allows great players to be amazing and good players to be great, whereas Pep gets great players to play great. So it's kind of the formation has enabled that because we know how good De Bruyne is. Whereas, if you know what I mean, like,
no, I get you.
I think Ancelotti's football isn't sexy, but it just elevates.
But I think what's also underappreciated from an Ancelotti, I didn't realize this was going to be an Ancelotti love-in, but I'm loving it. But like, when you look at the clubs he's been at, there's some of the most politically charged clubs around. Like, being the manager at Real Madrid's like being a prime minister. AC Milan, when Berlusconi was knocking around, same thing. Chelsea with Abramovich, same thing. Everton, different beast, but really tough situation.
PSG.
Yeah, like, you
Napoli.
know, it's
the major clubs that like we forget he was at.
like the man, like you'd love to just pick his brain, like.
Dream, that's I think, and Don Carlo can be our number one dream pick. If we ever win the lottery, we'll try and get him on the pod, whatever we have to pay. I forgot he was at Bayern. Oh my god!
Yeah.
Oh my god!
And he was at Madrid before.
when you think of a top flight club, he's literally been at them. Like,
you know, like Juventus, Milan, Chelsea, PSG, Madrid, Bayern, Napoli, Everton, and Madrid.
Like,
lads, I've got news.
Ooh. Oof. But somebody that isn't quite as well regarded as a manager right now, it was Don Carlo's opponent over in Bayern, Thomas Tuchel, who is under serious pressure and is a dead man walking, it seems.
I don't get the Tuchel hate. Like, I really don't. I understand. I'll start by this. I understand people's preservations with him. I understand why people might not like him, but I feel like everyone has to come to common ground that he's a top manager. Like, He's a
Absolutely.
top manager, and yeah, I just don't know why he's so hated. It's maybe a personality thing.
I think it's just that, man. I think you swap his personality and less. Not even abrasive's probably the wrong word, but he's not tremendously likable. But if you take like, you don't have to like a manager for them to be good. You know what I mean? And
Yeah,
in terms of his outputs speak for themselves. I think like, yeah, he's had a couple of dips over time, and that's where he might differ to someone like Don Carlo. But it's when you look at all of it, he's a pretty stellar character.
but he's also
Like,
so young still. Like,
What age
do you know
is
what I mean?
he?
is
Like,
he mid-40s?
yeah, mid-40s. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, he's been around a
He's
while.
50.
Is he 50?
Still,
Like,
though.
he's
He's only
been
50.
around a while, but he's still young in the manager game. You know what I
Well,
mean?
he's got a good 20 years of management left in him, easy, if not more. Like,
Yeah, and he
Yeah,
has nearly 20 years of management behind him.
yeah,
I think I'll be nothing if not consistent here. I get, as Nate said, I get some of the reservations that people have against him. Like, he's not a manager you're going to hire for the long term. Like, but neither is Mourinho. Doesn't
but
mean
that's what I was
Mourinho
gonna say.
isn't good.
It's becoming more common now that like it's rare that you do add someone for the long haul. Like,
But one thing I think has to be taken from this whole scenario is Bayern are like so toxic.
well, they're just lost. Like, I mean, what's funny with them is because they've won so much over the last, I don't know, decade in general, but especially the last, say, 5 years, that's papered over cracks in that club. In terms of the culture there, the leadership there, the style of player they were buying even for a while, and the characters within that dressing room. And like, I'm not like, look, I'm not trying to call it a farmers league. Like the German league is I really do enjoy it, but like they've run riot in that league for a long time, but they just seem like a rudderless ship.
like the one thing I'll say is I don't know why they're panicking so much. Like, they're they might not be a very well run club, like people wise, but
Mm.
they're very well financially backed. That's public. They
Mm.
have a lot of big German companies behind them. They have ran riot with that league for 10 years. Why, after 1 year where it goes a bit rocky, is everyone throwing their toys out of the pram and going?
I think it kind of lends itself, and not to make this into a Formula One podcast because we also have one of those, but I think Bayern in Germany is akin to Ferrari in Italy. It's a national team, I think
Yeah,
and with
Is
that
it
becomes
though?
expectations.
Is it
I
though?
disagree. Yeah, because there's so many other clubs in Germany. Like every club in Germany is half fan owned. So
And I think that's going to give like every other club the fans to go, no, I don't care about Bayern. They just
yeah,
pay for everything. We're a real
Yeah.
club here. Like I think Bayern is Germany's equivalent to PSG as far as German fans are concerned. Yeah, they're the ones with the money. We're going to do things the right way. And Leverkusen has the same thing lobbied at them because Bayer, Leverkusen, like
Yeah.
they're also part, like they have a real, I think the Germans have a real kind of a distrust of any big company coming into football, and that is Bayern. That
and
is
Bayern
Leverkusen.
literally have like 6 big companies behind them. What is it?
But like
Audi,
if you're a Adidas are massively,
Audi, Adidas, like T-Mobile, like they're literally backed by 6 huge companies to the point where finances aren't an issue. It's like, lads, take a breather, clear house, get a new manager, and use their grand.
But sure, even how they treated Nagelsmann last year, like it was
Yeah.
just a complete overreaction for
And
no reason in the end.
the same thing's happening to Tuchel now. It's just an overreaction. Like, he's being blamed for stuff, in my opinion, that he got brought in and just it thrown onto him. He's been
Mm.
given like literally zero time, and it's like, just take a breather and just like
they're also in the semi-finals of the Champions League. Like, yeah, sorry lads, you didn't win the league and you didn't win the cup, but good God,
Give
like,
people fell.
you know.
Like, and then you have the president Hones coming out and making comments that like that Tuchel can't get the best out of players, and that all he wants to do is just spend money and sign new ones. Like,
What's
he
he trying
not?
to achieve by that? Like,
I don't
like
know.
genuinely.
But did he not literally just win the Champions League with a Chelsea team that was full of youngsters? Like, do you know what I mean? Like, where's the like? I don't understand what his point is. Like,
I think it's a case of real sour grape stuff. They're like, look, we want you gone. It's a smear campaign. It's an unnecessary thing, and you know, I his position, I suppose, is what was it, honorary chairman, or did we say, or something?
Lifetime president or something
Like
like that.
it's a wishy washy job. So like, of all the people who come out and say it, it's not good optics for anyone to say. But I mean, he's probably like, yeah, I butt hurt by it, but like, whatever. But I just a club like Bayern Munich having this goes back to what we were saying, the type of people who are leading that club. If they're coming out with statements like that, Jesus, lads,
no class.
like it's so petty and lower class.
Like your man who said it, Hones, so he was at Bayern for pretty much his whole career, apart from a loan at the very, very end. And from then, so he retired in 1979 after 9 years as a player, and from then was commercial and general manager of Bayern Munich until 2009. Then he was elected president.
Since the late
So,
70s.
yeah, so like this man is the club. So he's the one that helped, like the Allianz Arena is credited to him. Like the finances that Bayern now have, that we now kind of like bemoan,
Yeah.
are from this guy. So like we can't just say it's a wishy-washy job. This man is, as far as Bayern Munich fans are concerned, Bayern.
Well,
Like
he's an
this is like
institution.
Beckenbauer. This is like Beckenbauer criticizing something.
Yeah, he's an institution in the fact that when I say wishy-washy job, I more mean his title, his current title is kind of just like, it's the title you give him to keep him around and keep him on the payroll and keep him involved in the club. But yeah, when you put it like that, like especially when you say Beckenbauer, like that's got a sting for Tuchel, and he doesn't deserve it.
Well, he's dead if he's saying that. You know what I mean? Like, it's
Yeah.
game over,
Yeah.
Although,
which is
like,
good for me.
I was just going to say, Nathan, what is the latest? Could Man United be benefiting from this?
Yeah, well, they're sniffing around Tuchel. Early signs that discussions have taken place, which is good. Listen, lads, we could get a semi-final of the Champions League at the very least. Manager in for free. Like, I think anyone will bite their hands off for that. I really like Tuchel. I've always liked Tuchel. I've been
Yeah,
very
you've been a long time stan of,
yeah.
of him.
So I'd be very open to it. Like, I just really like what he's about. Like, I think he can set up a defense, which is good. I don't think United have had a defense for a couple of years, so that's a good start. He's along the Mourinho mindset, and he's a bit of a pragmatist. Like, you know what I mean. Like, he sets up not to lose first, if that makes sense, which I like. He's very big on winning the ball back in transitional phases in the middle and start of the build up, which I like. I think that's what Chelsea really benefited from in the early days.
But
So
like
yeah,
you look at the United gig right now, right? And I would have said, like you, Jesus, if you can get Tuchel, get him. Like absolutely, especially on a freebie. But the next 18 months, for me at least, are going to define the next 10 years of Man United. You've got a chance now with the Ineos boys coming in to really recalibrate. Is he the guy to do a rebuild?
I don't think many people would say yes, but I won't say no because I think with the right recruitment and people around him, do think he can work. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, it's very public that he doesn't like to deal with the recruitment and all that. Like, he's a coach. You know what I mean?
So if they just
So,
so now that they've got kind of the
yeah,
top
Structure.
C-suite guys, he's like, okay, sweet, you do you, I'll do me, and we'll motor on.
like,
Like,
honestly, I think he's such a good coach. Like, and I don't think he gets the credit for his actual coaching that he probably should. I think people latch on to his how short of a time he is at clubs and stuff. But come on, lads, he's a world class coach.
like there's a couple of things about him. Like the short termism, I think is a potential issue depending on how Brailsford and Ratcliffe want to set the club up for the future. But if he's an Emery to your Arteta, what harm?
Oh yeah.
And like, he's a club in need of a transfer overhaul. And I know you're saying that he doesn't particularly like to be hands on with it, but I have some of his top signings that was done under his reigns at clubs. It's quite a list. So Kylian Mbappe going to PSG was done under his watch. Lukaku going to Chelsea. The return, the big money one,
God.
not great. Kane going to Bayern. Fofana going to Chelsea. Cucurella going to Chelsea. Sterling going to Chelsea. Icardi going to PSG. Kim Min-jae going to Bayern. Koulibaly going to Chelsea. Obviously, all these are very much like the big money ones of
Yeah,
recent
yeah.
times. But going a little bit further down the list, there's a lot more interesting ones. So, like Ousmane Dembele going to Dortmund was done under his watch.
But is that through, like, is that just by happening to be there? You know what I mean? Like, is this a director of football pulling the strings and
But a
he's been
director of
given the
football
tools?
signs players for that a coach can use, or you
Yeah.
sign a coach that can use the players. So like, these aren't I'm not saying that he's the one that made this decision, but if you
Yeah, they're not
have
exclusive.
like if you have a Dan Ashworth that's going to come in,
Yeah.
like that we know is very good at that kind of a job, and he sees a Tuchel and kind of goes, well, if he can handle it, Ousmane Dembele, well then let's find players of that ilk. Rafael Guerrero going to Dortmund was done under his watch, and he was a fantastic
Yeah.
under the radar signing. Mohamed Dahoud, who
Oh yeah.
didn't do well in the Premier League, but he did very well in the Bundesliga. He went to Dortmund and did quite well at Dortmund. So like, there is interesting signings done under his watch. Actually, the less money he spent that was spent for him, the better. And I
Yeah.
think that's exactly what Man United needs. Like, even if you want to be very kind of like hands off with it, like some of the players that he was handed at Dortmund.
Bellingham wasn't under him, wasn't it? Not.
No,
Yeah.
it was after him. But Alexander Isak was.
Oh,
He was given him at Dortmund, and he brought him. He helped blood him through at Dortmund.
good God!
Mark
Isak's
Barca-
been eating his Weetabix lately. I have to throw it in there. Jesus Christ!
But like, then Mark Barca coming from Barcelona turned into like, from a kind of a good young bit player to being a solid Champions League group stage
Yeah.
level defender for a good number of years. Emre Mor brought from being like from the Turkish, not the Turkish league, the Danish league, into being like a Bundesliga level player, and then he dropped off.
Well, when
more
you
because
look
of
at
first
when you look at it like that, and you look at United, like, I mean, Nate, you might be able to speak to this, but
Julian Weigl as well.
I read during the week that the entire team is up for sale, like open to offers.
Yeah. And
You know,
hopefully, like, do you know what I mean? Like, I think United need a big culture reset, not only in the boardroom, but also on the pitch. Like, we've got that exciting group of youngsters, the class of 2022. But I'd happily give them to Tuchel because I think he brings that bit of discipline to a side that these youngsters probably need in some sense. So like, yeah, I think we need a big reshape. But like, can we all agree, lads? I think Tuchel is a cut above the rest of the managers that are out there currently.
Yeah.
Like,
oh yeah,
like,
for sure.
And actually, just before we go on, there's a couple of other players I want to mention here. Shinji Ozaki, before he went to Leicester, like when he was just a good,
yeah.
like he had him at Mainz, and then friend of the podcast on Twitter, anyway, Christian Fuchs at Mainz.
Oh yeah,
for Leicester. So like, and then Rafinha going from Barca to PSG, like. He seems to be the kind of coach, as you're saying it, that can take players and do something with them. And I think, as I say, if he was to be your Emery to your Arteta, well, then that's a very, very strong position for United to be in. Kind of going, listen, if we throw these players, if we don't expect Tuchel to be managing in 3 years' time, but we throw him these players, they're going to be blooded through, and they're going to be.
Well, yeah. If he can settle the ship and just kind of correct course and get you going in the right direction, we've said it for weeks at this point. Like, yeah, he'll probably do 3 years max, but if you get a good 3 years out of him and you get back comfortably in Champions League and you're kind of pushing up the table, you'd bite your hand off for that, you know.
Actually, Nate, just on the other piece of that jigsaw to make it work, is there been any update on Ashworth? Don't make Connor cry on the podcast, but has there been?
yeah, today actually, it looks like it's going to happen. I'll get the actual wording on it,
Oh,
but
Do
it
we
is
have a little mole quote coming here?
Dan Ashworth is imminent and will be announced shortly. That's what I've been told. From
That's-
today, there was a meeting where Sir Jim flew in a helicopter, landed on the training pitches, yeah,
Baller move.
and talked to all the staff at Carrington, and that was the latest update on Ashford, that he is imminent and will be announced shortly.
Well, if he's announcing that to the full staff, like that's about as public an announcement because he knows that's gonna go around WhatsApp groups and online forums. So they seem pretty damn confident, and if they're that confident, it suggests to me that it's not going to cost them the 20 million that was touted.
Yeah, I don't think you're gonna get that much money for him. I don't think, because, yeah, like if it's moving on quickly, I don't think United are gonna pay that money, and from the sounds of it, doesn't seem like he's gonna get it. So that's a win. But I do think, just going on to Ashworth, is I think he could be the perfect man for Tuchel, because the one thing here is, if we're gonna go get Tuchel, like, I don't see why we'd even go into it with the mindset that it's going to be a 3-year thing. You have the perfect opportunity to work with Tuchel to build a perfect environment for him as well. Do you know what I mean?
And just see where it goes. Yeah.
Exactly. And
I wouldn't be putting I wouldn't be writing the man's tombstone before he's ever appointed.
yeah,
But like, it's one of them kind of things that, like with like with a Mourinho, you're kind of going, right, we're going to keep a few irons in the fire. We're not going to be looking at them, but we're going to keep tabs on.
yeah.
You're lucky right now as well that the jobs that are at least currently available or look like they will be available coming up, United's probably the most enticing project for someone like Tuchel. You know what I mean? Like now that the Liverpool
Yeah.
job's gone and Arnie Slot's kind of come in, he's kind of yours to lose, I think.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
I would gladly take him at Manchester United.
But like, United's gain is genuinely Bayern's loss, because
Oh, hugely.
Connor, who is in the frame to replace him?
It's a Man United man. It's Mr. Ralph Ragnick, which I know we all have differing opinions on this man. So I don't think any of us think he's terrible, but it baffles me that he is. And this isn't me saying he's a bad manager. I just never thought when he left United he'd ever get the chance to be at this high profile of a management opportunity again.
I think that's more down to his age
Yeah.
than anything. Like, he and the other thing that really, really, really needs to be emphasized in these conversations, because I have seen it mentioned nowhere as of yet. In Germany, he's called Der Professor. Like,
Is he?
Yeah, that's what he's been known as for the guts of 20 years. Because back in the mid 2000s, he used to be on TV shows with a whiteboard explaining football tactics.
He was the original Jamie Carragher, is what you're saying.
No, a lot
I'm
more,
joking.
a lot more kind of like educational and less spitting in girls' faces. But it was more like, imagine Match of the Day with an audience, and then this guy just stands up in front of the audience and says, "Well, here's how football should be played."
Pre getting that gig at United, though, when he was up in Russia, you cannot tell me he ever thought Man United would come knocking. And I know he didn't expect to be the gaffer there, so slightly different.
Mm-hmm.
But there's no world in which he would have thought within however many years he'd be the heir apparent to Bayern Munich as manager. Like, not in his wildest dreams, I don't think he would have seen that.
No, but like, I think he has a bad rep from then, where people think that he can't manage.
Well, he
And
got
that's just-
severely burned from that United thing, and I know we've talked about this before, and
Who hasn't?
and that's the thing, and like, you know, I think when we talked about this last night, you were very much of the opinion that like he didn't sign up for that job, so whatever came off the back of it really wasn't his problem or fault, really.
True, but I also don't see him as a manager. Do you know what I mean?
Well, I just
Like-
don't see him like you don't see him in a
Yeah.
tracksuit, you know.
Well, but also not that. Like, it's, I know he's known as a professor in Germany, but that was also a number of years ago. Do you know what I mean?
But he's also the one that made Tuchel. He's the one that made Klopp. He is the Bielsa to Pep for
His
them.
line of thinking made Tuchel, Klopp, but they also have their own styles. They do. Come on, they do. Like Klopp's football is very different to Tuchel's. It's just it is like there's a similar.
For audio listeners,
theories.
Killian grimaced at the mere idea or concept of this.
No, it's
Well,
not. It's not even that. Like, so they
Klopp
have their own
football is
flavors
highly
on
different
it.
to Tuchel's.
No, they have their own flavors on it in the same way that Pep has his own flavor to Bielsa's
Yeah,
football. But like,
one's
the
vinegar, the other one's
gegenpressing thing,
ketchup.
though.
Like you know what I mean? But, like it's very different. Like
I've
very
never heard that comparison: vinegar to ketchup.
you know what I was getting at. But like
But
it's
the
very
whole
different.
basis of gegenpressing, which I always thought was a ridiculous statement because Jack Charlton was doing that with Ireland in 1988.
Yeah.
But the whole German style of that came from Ragnick, and like I think, yeah, whatever people might say, that he's gone beyond being a manager now. That like he's a director, and that's kind of what he's kind of specialized in. He's also the one that leveled out Leipzig at every turn. Like while he was doing the Red Bull project, he would go in and he'd like when they need to get promoted up, I think it was from the third to the second division, went in, did that, or he got them from the second to the first, and then he came back in, right the ship again, and then he'd go off. Like he is very, very good at what he does. It's more that United was such a basket case, and when you listened, especially with Ollie coming out recently with the likes of stick to football and stuff, and you hear all of what Ollie was saying of his suggestions that United ignored, it lends credence to everything Ralph said after he left about being ignored, that United was the problem. Like this man has a 60-something% win rate with Austria. He
But
got
the
them to the
problem
Euros.
was United not following through after that time, but he was still shite as a manager when he was there. Like,
I also think he's not equipped to, and where I think he may struggle, is Austria is a certain level of player, but when you now have the likes of Harry Kane, that's a different type of manager required to navigate that caliber
I
of
don't
player.
think he's going to get the respect that he needs.
No, they're going to be like, Jesus, he's coming in.
I think in Germany he will get that respect. Well, that's my bigger point. I don't think in Man United he ever would have gotten that, because I think in United, I think some of the players in there are so. In fairness, like if you look at it like Rashford, how many managers come and gone under him now? Like he is like what John O'Shea was to Sunderland when Sunderland got relegated. Because up until that point, I think Lee Catmull came out and said it afterwards, kind of going, "Well, it was like, we're going to be here anyway. You're going to be gone in a few months."
Ragnick would have got a fairer shake, I think, that if he'd just come in as manager. But like it's a.
Well, he was interim, and that was never like. This is the thing. Like, why would a player buy into? Well, sure, you're going to be gone in a few months.
But like even if they kind of knew he was coming in as interim manager, I think any high profile player is like, why on earth are we getting the director of football being our manager? It's like, what are we doing here?
Yeah, but I don't. And that's one of the things I'm saying is, like, in Germany, I don't think they see him as that.
Yeah,
I think they see him as a manager that has done great things on a director's level, whereas in England, that's all they know him as. Oh, Red Bull, he did great there.
Can I offend some Bundesliga enjoyers real quick?
Run free, my man.
That league has never seen a low block in its life. I've watched about 10 Bundesliga games this season. Like, why is every team defending on halfway line? Like, I don't understand. Like, they don't know what a low block is. Throw Burnley in that league and it's going to be mayhem. Like, that's all I'm going to say is, I don't understand. Like, they don't know. It's either everyone just gets pumped 5-0. Like, it's
to be honest, you can actually blame Ragnick for that, because all the teams try to copy him because what he did was so good. So the whole thing of like high press, just get the ball back up there, don't let them get back here, was him. So like, if this is like bring Pep back to La Liga now, he'll do very, very good, and this is going to be like
you're bigging him up here, and you're putting some serious kerosene on the flames.
I think he is phenomenal, and the fact that he has been on the director level for as long as he has means he's probably one of the only managers out there that is equipped to deal with the basket case that is Bayern Munich.
That I will agree with. In this unique circumstance, it will actually help that he's had those roles, because he'll understand the pressures of it. Probably, if he's any way diplomatic, he'll be able to navigate it better than an out and out manager. But like I said, I'm baffled that he's in the discussion. If he is getting it, like there's no two ways about it. But to go from Tuchel to him is, as Nate would say, vinegar to ketchup.
I want to see Big Sam in the Bundesliga. Like he would literally cause riots in Germany, like literal riots at the stadium. Like it needs to happen. I need to see a Bundesliga team low block. Like I need to see it to see if it's possible.
Make the low block great again.
Like I don't get it. Like is there no transition into Germany of other footballing ideas? Like genuinely.
Adidas have a ban on low block football.
I saw a tweet and it was like it's in constitution in bleeding Germany that you can't defend beyond the halfway line when the ball's in the other half. Like, fuck.
I do think like his name is getting mud on it for absolutely no reason. Like
they're doing no favors calling him the professor, because the professor to me will always be Arsene Wenger.
I'm not sure how long Ragnick has had it, but it could be around the same era.
Okay.
Like Ragnick started managing in the 80s.
Jeez.
Like he's been around. So he retired as a footballer very, very young.
I went straight in.
Yeah, and the thing about him though, he started at like local level.
Yeah,
like he was like me and my football manager save Kells Celtic youths, that level, and he worked his way back up. So like he has a full grassroots knowledge, and like the other thing about it as well, for Bayern, and why I think it could be very, 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 very astute, is on that kind of board level. After the Khan sacking and that whole kind of, it seems that their whole board is very, very disjointed. And if they're clever and get behind them, and you don't get somebody like Ralph Rangnick in and not be together, hence the Man United failure, that he could actually go and fix their board level while he's the manager. Like this could be a whole thing of kind of, right, I'm going to come in, steady the ship, get you back winning.
But do you think do you think he jumps back into C-suite at Munich?
Up.
Okay,
absolutely.
Yeah, smart. Okay,
and then is like his tenure in total, even with the directorship, could be 3 or 4 years. And the thing will be transformed. Like his time with Leipzig brought the overall football value of Red Bull from 120 million to over €1 billion.
Well, that's not all that a club like Bayern Munich care about, but that is a major.
But don't forget what that entitled was. Like he's the one that put in the scouting networks for Salzburg to get all these amazing African players, and for the likes of a Haaland to come through. Like he's the one that put in that infrastructure. He's the one that put in the tactics that allowed the likes of a Jesse Marsh or a Hasenhüttl to come through and do well in. Like there's and the other thing as well that there is rumors around. So the under-19s manager of Bayern is actually linked with Sunderland at the minute, Maric. But apparently there was conversations about him making a move up to the main team, be it as an assistant. So they could be looking for more of like what Dortmund have done, but kind of getting like a little bit more of an internal promotion again.
That's interesting in terms of that. And on a side note, between this and Arne Slot, like Jesus, the managerial appointments lately have been tremendously underwhelming. You know, in terms of there's not really been any blockbuster ones. Even the Tuchel thing, because he's going to be free, is just kind of like, yeah, makes sense. There's no like, oh, holy shit, look who's going where type thing, you know?
I don't know. I obviously I'm very excited about Rangnick. I think anytime he can get his flowers, I am very, very happy.
I could tell.
But like I don't forget, if Tuchel gets the United job, that means Ten Hag has been sacked. Like that's a fairly monumental shift because like
mutual departure. That's what it would. That's how.
But but it's an acceptance that the project failed.
But mutual is just a polite way of saying we're giving you the out.
I'll just say it's mutual.
Oh yeah.
When you look at Ragnick though, boys, like I know he's kind of balling out in as much as he can for the Austrian national team. He's got a nigh on 62% win rate, but overall throughout his whole career, he averages a 47.8. And for a Bayern Munich manager, that doesn't really cut it. Like, you look at his last couple of gigs, so outside the 61.9 for Austria, United, okay, do we take that into consideration or not? I don't know, but just shy of 34%. Leipzig, the second time, he was 55%. Leipzig, the first time, 58. Schalke, 43. Hoffenheim, 47. Schalke the first time, 55. Jeez, he loves returning to a club, but you know what I mean. Like, it's not massive.
But don't forget to put that in context. Though he was going against Bayern Munich,
Yeah,
and he's going against Dortmund. Like, and even in like if some of the earlier appointments, he would have been going against Leverkusen the last time they were good, or when Hamburg still had money. Like these were like his Schalke team. I think maybe his second one would have been like Jefferson Farfan and maybe like a 37-year-old Raul. Like, I think he actually brought through Manuel Neuer at Schalke as well. So like. Put it in context. Like they were pretty damn good to have. Like if you look at any decent mid-table manager in the Premier League or even upper mid-table now, say like a De Zerbi or a Thomas Frank, that people be kind of going, wow, they're destined for the next top. I guarantee it, they're in around the same, if not a little bit less.
When you look at one thing, I think with this role as well, and I think you're right. If he does take the role, he is looking at that C-suite swaying in a couple of years. Because, like, I'm not saying he's old. He's 65, plenty of life left in him. But like, if Munich goes awry, I don't see him getting a managerial job again. Like, he's at Austria currently. That's a pretty cushy gig where he could hold it down for a while. So unless he is looking at it through the lens of a couple of years management and then jump into the C-suite, this could be his last gig, I think.
Yeah, other than maybe another national team one, which again is a glorified fucking directorship.
It's like an ambassadorship, really.
Yeah. Just as a side note, De Zerbi at Brighton has a 44% win rate.
Okay, that does give good context.
I'm starting to think De Zerbi might be a bit overrated.
Ooh,
he is a little bit.
Now overrated doesn't mean bad. Okay, let's get that. But there's reasons why clubs aren't approaching him, in my opinion. Something's keeping clubs away, in my opinion.
I think the big thing with him is he is as good a coach as Graham Potter. And
it's only taken 52 minutes, my friends. Graham Potter is in the mix.
He's got Sunderland, Kells, and Graham Potter in one episode. What's going on here?
This is the perfect episode. But no, I think he is as good a coach as Graham Potter, and the Chelsea experiment, which I think we can all agree was more of a Chelsea problem than as a Potter problem. And considering that Pochettino was apparently on the way out, which will again spice things up, because I did see just there as I was scrolling that there's a rumor that Tuchel might choose Chelsea over United, which
I don't think. I think he got scoring the last time he was there.
Yeah.
He'd be mental to go there because Chelsea is a dumpster fire right now, and I think as Robbie said last week, I think Pochettino's getting a raw deal here because without him, they'd be a lot lower down in that table.
100%. But I think when you keep that in context of Potter, I think that's part of the reason why De Zerbi is not being as linked as he was maybe 2 years ago. But we mentioned him already. Arne Slot, lads, what do we think?
I really don't know much about him. I've been joking to everyone that listen that I think he looks like Michael van Gerwen, but that's it's about as much as I know about the bloke. Like, I mean, from a little bit of digging, it seems like I think the reason they went with him over Amorim is his style of play is relatively similar to Klopp, while Amorim would have been a bit of a shift, and I think. Gut feeling, he'll be there a couple of years. He's not going to be a long-term manager. I'm sure they'll do fine. This could come to bite me in the arse, and he could be the best thing since sliced bread. But to me, it just seems like a bit of a David Moyes.
Oh, to be honest, lads, I'd be very underwhelmed if United went from like. I think the fact that he is a bit like Klopp could come back to bite them in the end. That not being a bit risky. But yeah, like I don't really know. Like, he seems like a bit of a plain Jane. And
it's the most meh appointment you've heard in a long time. Like, I don't know what do you think, Killian?
I think it's a very, very risky appointment, because like if you look at some of the managers that have won the Eredivisie over the last few years that have made moves to say the UK, they've been underwhelming at best. Like Ten Hag,
Yeah.
Philip Cocu,
Yeah.
who won
Forgot about
with
him.
PSV. He ended up at Derby and didn't particularly last that long. He did fine at Derby Championship though. Giovanni Van Bronckhorst, who's doing fine with Rangers,
But
but
they're all very meh. They're like,
yeah,
they're all kind of.
Frank
when I
de
say
Boer,
mess, probably harsh, but they're middle of the road managers.
yeah, like considering like Steve McLaren has won in the Eredivisie, like it's not great now.
Yeah.
Van Gaal is probably one of the better managers to have won the Eredivisie and come to the Premier League.
Looking
and done
back on his
fine.
time at United, I actually have a little bit more respect for what he did there as time has passed.
I think actually most of the managers in retrospect were doing like better. Like Mourinho was better than we were led to believe. Oli was much better than we were all led to believe. Like I think Ten Hag will actually come off worse in future than. Like I think Ten Hag will be closer to a Moyes than he will be a Mourinho in retrospect.
Like we've said before, he'll get a job. Yeah, like he'll still be managing going forward. It might take him a year or two
I
out
could
to get something.
absolutely see him at a Dortmund.
That's
in, like,
that's the
18
club
months' time.
we've kind of said is the perfect option for him. But
I think if you go to Bayern, like I do,
really.
Yeah, well, sure, he was there as an assistant, wasn't he?
Jesus, it's a United merry-go-round. These managers, like Christ.
Honestly, I think he's had a hard time at United. He might not be the perfect fit for us. He isn't, but I do think he's a top manager still. Like
I think where his issue with Bayern would be, though, is we've said this before, that he needs the people above him to be capable, and right now they aren't at Bayern.
Well, maybe Ralph will fix it for him. Yeah, like I think it's for the fans.
To go from Xabi Alonso to Arne Slot is just boring.
But that's also press talk. There's only so much credence you can put in that. So like you have to take it as you're going from Klopp to Arne Slot. Not great. At least when Klopp came in, it was off the back of a good Dortmund team. Now I know there was a waiver at the end, but it was still kind of like he came out of nowhere, did very well, and took a bit of time out and came to Liverpool. Also, like maybe they'll like the kind of Dutchness of him. I think he's closer to a Ten Hag than he is a Klopp in the press, though.
It's funny seeing Liverpool fans trying to justify the appointment.
Oh, it's great. It's so good.
I'm like, lads, come on, he's disappointed. Just
like you just have to come out and be like, yeah, great, Arne Slot. Like, I mean, Klopp's making it easier for him now with their kind of stumble to the end of the season.
I want to know if it's a Michael Edwards appointment, number one. Number two, if it's not, then I think the Liverpool ownership have got the tone of the fans very wrong.
Well, if it isn't a Michael Edwards appointment, you'd be absolutely fuming if you were Michael Edwards. It's like, I bought into this project, he gave me the keys, and you're giving me this guy.
I could see it being Moyes, like, honestly, just pure. I'm not like putting them up beside each other, but just purely the fact that if he doesn't get off to a good start, the fans will be against him pretty quickly.
And also, like the Liverpool, like I don't know anything about Arne Slot's kind of personality, to be honest, but like to be accepted as a Liverpool manager is one of the more unique jobs that you need to have a certain personality to fit in, and we talked about this previously as well. Like Liverpool fans will back their players, back their managers to the hilt if they buy in. But if this guy doesn't buy in quick, it could turn sour fast. Like I don't. He's probably on like a 3-year deal, is my guess. I don't know.
Probably. I don't think there's any details, any trustworthy details that have been revealed anyway. Like one thing I would say about him that it had me a little bit worried was when he was manager of AZ Alkmaar and did well with them, he accepted the Feyenoord job. That's fine. He got sacked by AZ before the end of the season because he was too focused on Feyenoord. So, like, is he constantly looking beyond the end of his own
Yeah.
nose? Is he
Yeah.
always kind of like, what's my next one? And in fairness, a month and a half before the end of the season, he's
Coming out and
publicly
saying,
come
I
out.
want to be the Liverpool manager. Yeah, it's a trend, mate.
It's not a great indication. Now, fans could say, well, he just wanted so much that it's fantastic. But
Yeah, but it's the same way that, like, I know it's different circumstances, but it still annoys me how Anthony Gordon treated Everton before he came up to Newcastle. It's that kind of like, play the game, you know?
yeah, it's a best case scenario. It's a beige flag, if not a full on red.
Yeah,
Like,
beige flag for sure.
Lads, a quick one, yeah. Our good friend Eamon Dunphy, yeah. He had
yes,
a go at Klopp the other day, and I want to read out his quote.
go.
Okay. The decision to announce his departure mid-season was self-indulgent and reckless. And so instead of Liverpool being free to concentrate on a title chase, all the attention instead has focused on who's coming in to replace their manager. That creates uncertainty in players and leads to drama we saw with Mo Salah.
He's summed it up perfectly, I'm not going to lie.
Yeah, like, you know my opinion on Klopp. First personality statue in Premier League history, after Michael Jackson, I guess. But yeah, like, it was one of them ones, as we said before. It was always gonna be hard to keep under wraps, and for considering they had it under wraps for as long as they did, was quite good going. But yeah, like, it has, like, it's completely changed how every game of Liverpool is going to be perceived.
Well, it went
Like,
from the quadruples in play, which they were never going to win, but like
No.
it was in play to the wheels are falling off. You know, like, I mean, and maybe that sounds worse than it is, but like, it's from where they were 10 games ago to now. It's vinegar and ketchup.
but there's another thing as well that, like, I've also seen creep into the fans. Now, I'm not saying it was widespread, but like, there's been definitely a few comments kind of going, "Oh well, like, the players have lost this for Klopp. Like, it wasn't Klopp's fault."
Yeah.
So, like, are you suddenly setting up the team to fail for when he's gone?
Well, I just don't know why they did it. You know, as in, like, what benefit? Like, yeah, I understand they could have rallied the club and the fans, like, you know, atmospheres would be amazing. Fans would be like, let's do it for Jurgen. But like, I just think it's a lose-lose doing it like that early in the season. Like, why not keep it, or even tell the players, don't let it leak publicly, which is nigh on impossible. So you'd probably not have to tell the players, keep it between the owners and him. And then coming into the last game of the season, wherever they are, whether it's fucking sixth place or first place, this is my last season. This will be my last game. I think that's the way to do it.
Yeah. One thing though, it makes me very, very, very excited for the Liverpool documentary. I just can't wait for it all just to end in tears.
See, I think this documentary is going to be one of them where we didn't even get the full access, you know what I mean? It's going to be like, I don't see them giving much access in terms of.
It'll be like the Man City ones
Yeah.
and the Juventus ones, where it's all very much like, "Oh, aren't we great? Aren't we great crack?"
The
Look at
Arsenal one and the
players."
Spurs one was good.
Yeah, like, I still don't think any of them beats. Like, I know, like, the Crystal Palace one was a very different style,
yeah, that was amazing. That,
but it was also in retrospect. Whereas
Yeah.
the Sunderland Till I Die, you got to see. Whilst I think the access could have been more, you got to see some of the dirty parts of it. Like when you had Aidan at the training ground actively saying that he doesn't like the managers, basically.
like that's
You're
the
not
kind
gonna-
of
you're not
access
going
you
to see
dream
that
of.
in
Yeah,
because
because
you're not going to see that in the Liverpool one.
especially because it's, you know, it's such an institution of a club. They need to keep face. They're also, from a shareholder perspective, there's just too much there financially to allow access like that, you know.
Also, I know we mentioned it before when we were talking about the previous appointment of Liverpool, Amarin, but we were saying about the importance of trying to keep players like Salah and all that. Well, Arne Slot isn't exactly the kind of manager that's going to go, "Hey, look who we have coming in, Mo."
Makes life
You're dead.
makes life easier for Slot if Salah's gone. Honest to God.
Absolutely, and I did say not too long ago that, like, I think they need to get players like him gone, and just new generation accept 2 years of not doing great and then be ready for the next one.
But why?
But like, any opportunity to have of trying to keep some of these big players, Arnie Slot's not the man to convince them.
But not also that. What's his pulling power in the transfer market?
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. Like, Liverpool with Arnie Slot in charge, I don't know if that's a good looking.
What's so interesting though, and that is like, arguably we know as much about Amorim as we do about Slot. If anything, we know maybe a tiny bit more about Amorim. But for some reason in my head, if Amorim is there, there's more pulling power than there is with Slot. There's just something about Slot that's just like, ugh, okay.
There's been too many failures come from the Eredivisie. Like, there's been too many players and managers not hit the heights, whereas from Portugal, there's been a much better.
Fair.
Like, if you wanted, like, if, let's say, worst comes to worst and Slot is Ten Hag 2.0 and he is the scouting network for the club, who is he going to get? Quinton Timber, Urian's brother. Rasmus Zaruki.
Sounds like a vegetable.
Givalo Reed. Santiago Jimenez. You know what I'm like with Football Manager, lads? I'm struggling with these lads.
Yeah.
I know about 4 of them. Mickey Van Sants, I've heard of.
But the other thing is the pulling. Going back to the pulling power, and he doesn't even know who he's going to have next season, or like it's definitely going to be next season. I'm really looking forward to, in terms of Liverpool are on the brink of what could be the start of a United-esque decline. United are on the verge of what could be a Liverpool-esque incline, and City with that court case looming. It's going to be interesting, boys.
Oh, I can't wait for the court case for City. Like, it does irk me when, like, the Champions League coverage and the 115 charges are never mentioned in their successes. Like, there should just always just be a little asterisk.
Are we doing day by day, like going through the trial notes?
Oh, we're going full. I get the Christie vibes on that.
Oh, like I think outside the courthouse last day, like heard it come in.
Where is the court case actually being held? Because
it'll probably be in a hotel, like, to be honest. It's not an actual court case, is it?
Well, it'll be a kangaroo court in
Well, depending on where it happens, it's Man City. They love an L court case. So
I just know for a fact this case will start. They'll wrap it up in litigation, and this thing will go on for another 5 years. Like, I know they're finally making a date, but I don't see a verdict coming out of this.
Only thing though is, because it's the Premier League doing it, what could happen is they could, even if it was to be overturned, they could make a big statement by pulling them up and, like, taking away some title.
Oh,
even if it was to be overturned.
See,
but if they were to do that,
my only thing with that, man, is, like, as much as I want to see City get absolutely done for this, it's the same thing with, like, the Lance Armstrong taking away the 7 Tour de France's. It's kind of like, whether it was drugs or not, he won them. There's no point rewriting history here and going, at that point, I think,
Speak for yourself. I want that Mourinho title, please. Thank you very much.
No, Connor, I do know what you mean. Like, I do think they would always, like, it'd be one of them kind of ones that City didn't win it, but nobody else did.
Yeah.
Like, so but I'd be happy with that. I think I'd be very happy just for them to go, listen, yous cheated. Yous don't get to win it. We're not gonna change the record necessarily, but we're putting cheat beside you. Like, it just has to be.
Well, I think the only way I don't so much mind if the title stay with them, because look, they won them and they won it playing some sexy football, but I think cripple them financially in terms of how much they're allowed to spend for a 5-year period is probably the most achievable.
I don't like them. Like, look how Chelsea got around it. They just sign all the players first. Yeah, like, that's a very easy one to get around. But, like, there's going to be the new Premier League rules about spending anyway that the majority of the clubs are going for. But we'll have to chat about that another week, maybe when it comes true. Gentlemen, thank you very, very much. It was an absolutely fantastic chat. This has been the Not to Put It podcast. I've been Killian Ginnity. Delighted to be joined by Conor Glenham.
It's been a pleasure, boys.
And by Nathan Byrne.
Thank you.
We'll chat you next week.
Bye-bye.
Messi. Oh, my goodness. Balotelli.